Welcome along to Betting Weekly Extra Time European Edition. You're with myself, Dan Roebuck, alongside me, as per usual, Steve Wyss and James Eastham. Fellas, very good day to you both. The latest international break is over until the next one comes around, which is in about 3 weeks' time. Feels like we're treading water a little bit, Steve, in terms of picks and plays, and even sort of narrative with the leagues a little bit. I can't quite get my handle on whether PSG are going to falter for the remainder of the season. We know they've lost, that Bayern just going to win every single game. How are you? What's your thoughts off the back of the latest break?
Well, good day to you both. I'm doing okay, and my thoughts after this international break is that I'm glad that club football's back. I just couldn't get into the international round from a betting perspective, and I said this on a few of the live shows. There were some interesting storylines, wasn't there, with the qualifications of like Cape Verde and stuff like that. But from a betting front, I kept my powder quite dry compared to normal, really. So I'm glad club soccer's back. I feel the disappointing thing for me this year has been the official picks, because I'm somehow in a loss for them. I feel I should be plus 10 units up. And I just hope I get a bit lucky now over the next few weeks. Not in terms of fluking wins, but actually looking in selecting the right bets for the official picks, because that's all that's let me down recently. Apart from that, I've been reading most of the leagues quite well. Apart from Serie A has been quite a challenge for me, I must say. But the other leagues, I've been bang on it, really.
I'm going to say Serie A, again, James, looks like it's going to be the most competitive of the lot. Although Real Madrid, Barcelona, Real Madrid are minus money favourites again, but it looks like it's going to be a two-way go potentially there. Any sort of hot takes off the international break or so far in the league seasons?
Yeah, well, I agree with that, Dan. I think the Italian title race is going to be pretty open. Lots of teams have impressed, but then lots of teams have had a few problems as well. I think now we go into a really busy period. Seen some articles knocking around in the European press about how many games we've got before the next international break. We should say we've got 2 rounds of Champions League fixtures as well as the league games. So it's going to be really busy. I think we're doing okay in terms of the show. It's been a tricky start to the season as regards reading the leagues. Some of them have been quite tough, but I said a few weeks ago I want to stay as close to level par as we can at this stage, and that's pretty much what we're doing at the moment.
Well, it is. Well, the show is down. The show is losing money. Here's the P&L for the season so far. Look at this. It's an absolute shocker. How on earth are you going to come back from this? We are minus 0.01, Steve. What's going on with you? Disgraceful.
Well, we might as well just put level 0-0 there. It's one of those where, like, actually James is right. At the start of the season, if you stay around level par, it's not the worst thing. And it's been ups and downs. I've been all or nothing. Some week I've been clean sweeping the right way and then clean sweeping the wrong way. But yeah, I'm confident. I'm feeling confident in terms of how I've been reading a lot of the teams. Yeah. So, and James is just starting to find a bit of form as well. This could be hopefully a hot period for us before the next international window.
Plenty to discuss as usual. If you like what you hear, please subscribe to our newsletter, bettingweeklystudios.com. Get your comments in the chat on the YouTube channel, of course, subscribe and like. 2-unit plays off the bat for both of our handicappers this week. We're going to play Steve's 2-unit play first up. It's Freiburg against Eintracht Frankfurt, which is a game on Sunday, 9:30 Eastern. Each of two, this one, Steve. There was a little bit of a correction when it came to the Bundesliga overs market last time out. 6 of the 9 went unders. Average for the league is now 3.24. Have the line shifted? Well, a tiny little bit. The average for over 2.5 was minus 175 on match day 7. For match day 8, it's minus 169. So it's been pushed out a little bit, but there is still value to be had. Talk us through your Freiburg Frankfurt 2U play.
Yeah, well, I'm not as keen on as many plays in the Bundesliga this round. I think it's a much trickier set of fixtures. And, it wouldn't surprise me if there's maybe more unders than overs this round, or at least a 50-50 split. But this looks to me like the obvious over bet of the round. Freiburg against Eintracht Frankfurt, based on performances, results, underlying metrics, and also the head-to-head as well. It's always usually quite a bonkers fixture. And the bet I'm going to go with for 2 units is over 2.75 on the Asian line. This is at minus 127 now. and I think it's very generous. I mean, when you think about it, that Bayern Frankfurt game looked the most obvious over 3.5, didn't it, of all time, and it ended under 3.5 somehow. But that was the first time that a Frankfurt game went under 3.5 this season. So I think based on that alone, it's a surprise to see a 2.75 goal line, isn't it? This is a team that are regularly involved in crazy high-scoring fixtures. I mean, they're facing, I think Liverpool is it in the Champions League coming up.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be unbelievably high-scoring. It might be that the goal line might be low because of Freiburg, but they've had a couple of unders, a 1-1 draw against Hoffenheim, which was one of those bad beats again for me, wasn't it? 1-1 draw after 12 minutes, and it stayed that way. And then the 0-0 against Mönchengladbach last round, but I flagged that up before. That was the late Sunday kickoff, which that has a knacker going under, in the Bundesliga. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also Freiburg have been involved in the Europa League. So I think they definitely have been a bit tired in the last 2 league games, but they've had a whole international break to get cracking here. And they've actually, not many of their players have been on international duty, just 3 senior players. So they should be really well sort of prepped for Frankfurt, and certainly more energy about them. And it wouldn't surprise me, if Freiburg got a win here. So, but rather than worrying about moneyline and stuff, it's just a clear over 2.75 goal line for me. 2-unit play, sticking to that strategy of a 2-unit play, going down the goal line or the Asian handicap line, because it's such a a heavy stake. If there is 3 goals exactly, we will still profit half a winner. But this is probably the sort of game that will, something like the 2-2 draws a possibility, a 3-2 win to someone. It should be a great fixture. It's the early Sunday kickoff window, and it should be a great start to Sunday in the Bundesliga.
Yeah, let's hope so. Goals on the agenda, Freiburg, Frankfurt. Let's get James's 2U play. We go Angers against Monaco, which is a Saturday game, 1 p.m. Eastern. Monaco short price favourites, -175 for this one. James, Angers +440. Angers have struggled at home this season and last. Monaco with a new coach, though. Adi Hutter has gone, which was a little bit of a surprise for me. You guys are across French football an awful lot more, so you probably know why. But a new man at the helm. Talk us through your 2U play, James.
Yeah, the 2-unit play is on Monaco, down to win this weekend. They are a short price to win the game, as you've said, so I'm backing them on the Asian handicap. -0.75 goal start for Monaco is available at -137. So as long as they win the game, you'll make a profit of some kind. And yeah, I was slightly surprised too that Adi Hutter has been sacked at Monaco. It had been talked about. Monaco's performance level, it's been a bit flat this season, but they are only 3 points off top spot. And, he did a pretty good job last season to guide them into the Champions League. So a little bit harsh, but they've decided now is the time to make a change. They brought in Sebastian Pocagnoli from Union Saint-Gilloise in Belgium, where he won the Ligue and the Belgian Manager of the Year prize last season. Only 38 years old, and he'd only been in that job a year. So Monaco think they've identified a really bright young coach here, and they've gone in early to get him. So interesting change, interesting timing. Reports out of training at Monaco this week are good, as you would expect. Monaco are fired up to try to impress the new coach. Places in the team up for grabs. But really, to be honest, I would have gone with this pick anyway, whether they changed the manager or not. A lot of this pick is about Angers and just how poor they have been at home for quite a few seasons now. I think if you go back to the start of the 22-23 season, they've got a 62% loss rate at home in League One. Really struggle in front of their own fans. Last season against the top 6, they lost all 6. That included a 2-0 home defeat against Monaco. Often very easy games for the opposition when you go to Angers. And I've tried to look into what it is. I think the fact they don't sell out the stadium is a factor. They don't have very big crowds at Angers. It's quite a quiet place to go. Not intimidating at all for away teams. Quite the opposite, actually. I think away teams go there and quite enjoy it because they see that Angers don't have a great deal of support. So whatever the reason, it's a really kind place for visiting sides, especially the better ones. And Monaco are that. So I think it's a great opportunity this for Monaco. Really nice game for the new coach to kick off his time in charge. 2-unit play. I think a Monaco win is very likely this weekend. And as I say, they are a short price to win, so I prefer them this weekend on the Asian handicap.
Yeah, I thought he was probably getting groomed for the Brighton job, given his profile and the fact that Tony Bloom, I think he's still got a half an arm or a leg in Union Saint-Gilloise. I'm not quite sure. Even so, an interesting appointment. We'll see how he goes. West Brom fans might remember him as a player. It leads into Steve's hot dog, incidentally, because, Steve, you have included Monaco, not on that particular Asian line, but you are siding with Monaco as part of your hot dog because they form a parlay. We've got two teams in France that you need to perform well to give us a big price winner.
Yeah, it's been one of those weeks where I've struggled to identify that many hot dog possibilities. So I've gone to the old double trick again. And you know what I think?
Worked last time?
Yeah, it did work last time. So the double I'm going with is Monaco on the -1 Asian handicap, in addition to Toulouse on the money line to beat Metz. Now, at Bet Rivers, you can do this parlay. It wasn't always possible back in the day. But
I had to double check that, I had to double check it because I know that some firms don't necessarily allow you to put in an Asian line, but I triple checked it. You can do it. Sorry, go on.
Well, it was going to be Monaco -1.5 on the three-way spread in the double. That's how confident I am about Monaco. I fully agree with James' two-unit play here. What a perfect first match for the new manager. I just think what I'm doing here, I'm opposing, in my opinion, by far the two worst teams in Liga. Angers and Metz are awful. They are Ligue 2 level. And, I think if you oppose them in a double most weeks, you'd probably be in profit this season. Certainly on, say, a draw no bet handicap on their opposition. But in this instance, I'm not really going to add anything more about Monaco. James has covered that match really well. I like the new manager hire. And I think that's the reason they've gone for him, because they didn't want to miss out on this manager. He's thought of as quite a decent prospect. And Adi Hutter did a decent job there, but it was maybe time to move on. I'll talk about the Toulouse-Metz game now. And Toulouse, we don't really mention them that often on the show. Not often we've ever backed them, really, is it, for quite some time? What they are is a genuine just mid-table side in everything. Points, metrics, performances. One thing they usually do quite well is beat up poor teams at home. I'll say that about Toulouse. I wouldn't really ever feel that comfortable backing them against the big boys. But Metz at home, that's a nice game for them. They won this 3-0 last season. Metz are still winless. The only side in Liga who are still yet to get 3 points in a game. And the main reason for it is they're just so toothless. They really don't score that many goals at all. They got a couple against Monaco, but that was when Monaco came on the back of that terrible Champions League performance. In the underlying metrics table, we say how bad Angers are. Well, Metz are just as bad. They've got the worst expected points in the league, worse than Angers. They've got the worst expected goals against as well. So it just makes sense to me to combine this double. It's at plus 221, by the way, and the double is Monaco -1 Asian handicap, and Toulouse on the money line just simply to win at -159 for them. But plus 221 in total. I'm keeping John, the graphics guy, on his toes here, and also keeping Joe on his toes, because we could potentially get a strange situation where Toulouse win the match and Monaco win by 1 goal. And I'll have to work out the maths for the profit, but it would still be profit. But hopefully we get the full cover on the Asian handicap for Monaco. I just see both sides comfortably getting the win.
That's the hot dog from Steve. It's a parlay, and we may as well stick with the hot dog picks with James's fancy price selection for this weekend. We go to Spain, Getafe against Real Madrid, which is a Sunday 3 p.m. Eastern game. That Toulouse fixture, I should have pointed out, is 11:15 on Sunday morning. Getafe, Real Madrid, 3 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. Real Madrid are plus 265 here. Real Madrid are La Liga favourites again after Barca's loss to Sevilla last time out, James. And they've got players fit and fresh, and maybe with a point to prove here as well. Obviously, we're looking at Jude Bellingham there, who was left out of the England squad. So the hot dog, I presume, is not going to be Getafe at plus 750.
No, it's not, Dan. No, I'm going really big on Real Madrid this weekend. The hot dog play is Real Madrid -2 on the Asian handicap at plus 235. So you need Real Madrid to win this by a couple of goals just to get your stakes back. But I'm very confident they can get a big win this weekend. I think just generally on Real Madrid, if you do put aside that heavy defeat in the derby to Atletico Madrid, they are 7 wins from 7 in La Liga. I think the last 3 of those have been by 2 or more goals. So the general form against everybody other than the top sides in La Liga so far has been really good. And I think it's a great opportunity for them to solidify those stats, get a big win here. You've mentioned Jude Bellingham. I think this is the weekend to watch him. He's obviously had a slow start to the season because of injury, not played many minutes so far, which was why he was left out of the England squad for the recent get-together. Big talking point in England. And so, Jude Bellingham has had a couple of weeks training at Real Madrid where most of their players, or their big name players, will have been away. Really big weekend for him. We still don't know if he's going to start. He may be used sparingly, but he will have a point to prove, I think, Dan. It has been a huge talking point that Thomas Tuchel left him out of the England squad. I had a long look at Jude Bellingham at plus 320 to score here as my hot dog pick. I pulled away from that in the end because he has got so few minutes in the team. I'm not quite sure what we'll get from him in terms of his performance, but he will have a part to play, I think, this weekend, and it will be a big one if he gets on the pitch. On Mbappe, he missed France's second of their 2 internationals. We've been told he's returning to training as we're recording today on Friday, which gives them a couple of days to get ready for the game. We know what Mbappe's like. If he's fit or close to fit, he'll want to play and want to prove a point. The feeling was he may have missed that second France game, so he could be fit for this Real Madrid game and then games going forward. So if he's involved at all, and it looks like he will be, then the form he's been in, I think that just gives Real Madrid a cutting edge as well. So I'm really big on Real Madrid. I think they can win big this weekend, and I can see them at least winning by a couple of goals. So it's my hot dog play. It's Real Madrid -2 on the Asian handicap at plus 235.
Mentioned Mbappe. Thought it was an interesting time just to give some comparison with the other sharpshooters across Europe. Get your thoughts on these 2 or these 3 players for this weekend, Steve and James. James talking about Mbappe there. He's scored in his last 10 for a club and country, 14 in total. Haaland, we've talked about in the Premier League show, and Nigel made some great points about betting Haaland in the anytime goal scorer market this weekend. They take on Everton. He scored in his last 10 for club and country, 19 in total. And since we've got De Classica that we're going to preview later, I thought I'd mention Harry Kane. He's got 8 in his last 10 for club and country, 15 in total. And all of the teams that those 3 players play against this weekend, Real Madrid, Man City and Bayern taking on Getafe, Everton and Dortmund. We're roughly in the same ballpark here, Steve, in terms of prices. So you're getting a good angle in, good comparison in terms of where you want to be with these 3 players. And which one would you, if you had a free $50, and we're throwing these out an awful lot these days. I mean, you've got Mbappe at -152 to score at any time, Haaland -155, Kane -250. Does that feel right to you? What do you think, Steve, if you're comparing these 3 strikers this weekend, all similarly priced in terms of who they play? Where's your money going, or would you play them all?
Great debate, this. Do you know what? I wonder what the actual parlay is for all 3 to score. I'll have to work that one out in a minute. But this weekend, if I had to put some money on one of these, on a free bet, then it would be on Mbappe. Number one, it's the best price. Haaland, I'm a little bit... The worry with Haaland is I think sometimes he's game managed a bit. Nigel mentions this on the Premier League show, and he won't always last longer than 65 minutes if Pep wants to rest him. Kane is plus 650 for a hat-trick with Bet Rivers this week against Dortmund. That's not generous enough, really. So I wouldn't be as interested in Harry Kane, but all 3 of them have a lot of things in common. They're on penalty duty. In the case of Mbappe and Kane, I think they're incredibly, actually very selfish players. Haaland, as well, has just got that killer instinct. But I think of the 3 of them, Mbappe is the one who cares most about his individual stats. So that if I had to go with one of them, I would always go for Mbappe because I know he's playing for himself as well as his team.
Mhm.
I guess Mbappe is playing away from home. For what it's worth, Haaland and Kane aren't. I mean, to score 2, James, Mbappe plus 290, Haaland 290, Kane plus 215. Steve mentioned the hat-trick price of Kane, which is plus 650, but he's got a couple this season already. So has Mbappe, so has Haaland. But
Yeah.
Mbappe's plus 1150 for a treble, Haaland plus 1050. Who's the best bet?
Well, it's really interesting to look at the prices because on any given weekend, I always think of Harry Kane being the one to hang my hat on. I just get that feeling about him since he went to Bayern. What a fantastic scoring record he's got. And yet, if you look at those shorter term stats, last 10 matches, you know, he's no better than the other two. He's actually a little bit weaker, and yet his price is much shorter. So it throws up the question of, you know, even though Kane is a fantastic goal scorer, is he actually a value pick? You'd have to say no on the prices available this weekend. So it shows just how useful it is to look at those stats. Mbappe's been in incredible form. I think he is really gearing up, not only for the World Cup next summer, but the Ballon d'Or. I think seeing his mate Ousmane Dembele win it has probably given him even more motivation. So right now, I would say Mbappe, looking at the combination of the stats and the prices, would be the one I would back. But really interesting, and it just shows that if you do look at the stats and the prices, sometimes it challenges the ideas that you've got in your head.
What's the parlay pay, Steve? I hope you've just been working it out.
I have. You knew what I was doing. Plus 286 for the parlay.
So that's just any-time goal scorer. That's just any-time
just
goal scorer.
score any time, all three of them this weekend.
286.
Is that a bet or not?
I think that's a bet. I don't play any-time goal scorer that often, I must admit. I just think this trio, this weekend, it just might be a bet for me. Let us know in the comments. Is it a bet? Are we playing the anytime goal scorer parlay? Mbappe, Haaland and Kane, they're all similarly priced, similar stats, similar opponents. A lot to compare and contrast with that trio. Let us know in the comments which one is the best value. Should we bet all three? Was it plus 260, plus 230, plus 2?
For the parlay, plus 286.
Yeah, for the parlay?
Yeah.
286?
Yeah.
Isn't that a
you're
sort
tempted,
of
aren't you, Dan? I know you're
collective...
tempted. I know that.
I'm massively tempted. One unit plays next up. With Steve's first up, we're staying in Spain with Sevilla against Mallorca. Now then, hopefully, everybody took Steve's advice a fortnight ago. In the overs game, Sevilla against Barcelona. We said there was chaos in some of the games. That was an incredible match, certainly for Sevilla fans at least. This week might be different. I want to pull the reins in a little bit with Sevilla this week, even though they've made me money this season, simply because it's Mallorca, Steve. But you're happy to go again here.
Well, yeah, I'm not that confident either, to be honest, Dan. But I said, now I've got a winner over the line in with the Sevilla overs. I thought the missed penalty was going to cost me from Lewandowski. Now I'm rocking and rolling with Sevilla. I'm going to stay on the train. Because I said before, I think I said last week, this is almost like a system play for me now, week on week. I am very happy to go over 2.25 goals in any Sevilla game against anyone. And I'm happy to do higher goal lines against the better offensive teams. And you can get over 2.25 goals here at minus 114. So, I'm just trusting what Sevilla, it keeps happening with Sevilla. They're overachieving in front of goal still. They keep doing it. I think they can keep doing it for the whole season. They're just that sort of team. And in terms of Mallorca, what I'll say about Real Mallorca is that they have the lowest expected goals in the league, by the way, Mallorca. But they have faced the top four from last season already. So their fixture list has been brutal. And I just wonder now, I think a lot of opposition will look at Sevilla the way they play and think, we can get at this lot. You got to be careful against Sevilla, as Barca showed, but Mallorca may well come here with a more offensive game plan than normal. And Mallorca, I mean, if we look at their games, only two of their fixtures have actually gone under 1.5 goals this season.
Yeah,
remember
they've been better this season for sure.
Yeah, I think their defense isn't as good. I mean, if we look at the defensive metrics again, they face some good teams, but they're not as solid as they were. So that encourages me from a Sevilla standpoint here. Over 2.25 goal line, remember, you only lose half if there's 2 goals scored exactly. That is a nice little thing to fall back on. And if this line was at 2.5, I probably wouldn't have made it an official pick. I'd still be on the over, but I'm very happy for the 2.25 goal line to be in operation here. And, I'm just going to keep going with it because I just think they're going to a lot of Sevilla games will go over 2.5 this season. Some will go under by variance. But the way they play with this manager, it's chaos at times. Watch out for severe corners as well, by the way. Mallorca have a tendency to concede quite a lot.
Overs we like, once again, Sevilla, the line 2.25. Half your stake back if it is just 2. Let's get James's one unit play. Remiss of me again. 8 a.m. Saturday, that game, Sevilla, Mallorca. Saturday midday, we go Torino against Napoli. Napoli are minus money favourites here, James, for your one unit play. Torino plus 380, draw plus 250, pretty much unders at minus 148. The favourite when it comes to the goal line. Torino, I just had to triple check this. Torino, one of 7 Serie A teams yet to win at home so far this season, which seems incredible. Napoli, as we know, are decent away. Napoli have been good to you over the last couple of seasons, James.
Yeah, they have, and I'm sticking with them for that reason. It's a very straightforward one unit play from me, taking Napoli on the money line, which was minus 141 yesterday. I think it's a slightly better price now, minus 134, but I would take Napoli even if they got a bit shorter, to be honest, because, they were great last season away from home. I know it's a different season and things change, although they have started the new campaign pretty well. I think they're going to be up there and a fairly similar standard team to the one they were last season. And they've made a good start away from home this season as well. They've won 2 out of 3 on the road. The only one they lost was that game at AC Milan, who are a better team than Torino, aren't they? So this is a sort of game Napoli really won the title with, I think, last season. They were very good away from home against teams that they should have been beating, like Torino. Made very few mistakes. I think Antonio Conte got a really good system in place to make sure his team generally came away from this type of match with all 3 points. And I think they can carry that into this campaign, and we're seeing signs of them doing that already. So I think this is ideal match for Napoli. And on Torino, they've not won yet. They've only had 2 games at home, we should say. It's a small sample size, but they've drawn 1 and they've lost 1, and they've actually failed to score in those 2 matches. So far, it's been a slow start for Torino at home. I don't really see why they'd be prepared for this match based on what we've seen so far. I think it will be challenging for them. So as long as Napoli are fairly fit and fresh after the international break, and I think they should be if you look through their squad, as I say, I think this is an ideal game. You may want to take them on the Asian handicap if you're looking for bigger odds. You could back them minus 0.75 or minus 1. But I think odds around minus 140 on the money line are good enough, really. So it's my one unit play, Napoli to win the game on the money line.
Let's get some leans from the boys. We've got leans across all of the 4 major European leagues. We're going to start in Italy, and both Steve and James have got thoughts on the Como-Juventus game, which is Sunday, 6:30 a.m. Eastern. Steve, you got a bit of a flyer for Como here.
Money line plus 195. If this had been plus 200, it may well have been my hot dog of the week, but I play by the rules. I'll play it fair. Which is a real shame. It's not plus 200, but
it is.
So throwback to some sort of 80s cop show then. Steve Wyss, he plays by the rules.
But do you know what? I think there's 2 things about this. I think Juventus might be gettable. This is after an international break, and they have the second most senior internationals away. And that concerns me a bit. So they might be a bit disjointed here, Juventus. They've annoyed me quite a lot this season, and it's their defence which is the problem. I think they just concede too many sloppy mistakes at the moment, and goals for that matter. 0-0 last time out, but against AC Milan, that's sort of a different dynamic. And I kind of owe Como a bit of an apology. I at the start of the season, some of the odds on their games just felt wrong. I looked at the odds, but do you know what? I think they are probably quite a legitimate team. Quite how good they are, where do you rank them in Serie A? I certainly think they're one of the top 7 or 8 teams now. And on their day, they look like they're one of them sort of teams who can possibly beat anyone on their day. But whenever I see them play, they look good. They impress me, the way that Freiburg has got this team playing. And the underlying metrics are pretty solid as well. On a good day, they can dominate teams. They've got a player who I really like, and he's the Argentinian international young lad, Nico Paz. Now, watch out for this fella. He's actually, plus 132 to score or assist. For those who can never bet on him to score outside the box, this player is capable of scoring golazzos. He's the heartbeat of this team. But I think Como probably are, better than I expected. And this may well be. I mean, if you want to play it safer, go draw no bet. But I just think Juventus might get rumbled here.
And you're fading Juve to a certain extent as well, James, with your lean, aren't you here?
Yeah, some overlap with what Steve has said and seen there with my lean here. I'm going both teams to score yes on this game, which is available at minus 118. First on Como, they've generally scored in matches this season. They found the net in 7 out of 8 in all competitions. They've scored in 4 out of 4 at home. So I think they'll be confident of scoring at the very least. And Juventus, we know they've been involved in some really high-scoring games. They've scored in 7 out of 8, but I agree with Steve about the defence. You cannot trust Juventus defensively at the moment. Brenner is out injured now. They've conceded in 5 out of 8 games. They've made lots of mistakes. I agree with Steve. They don't really seem to have been working particularly hard on their defending. I'm sure they have, but it's just not playing out that way. Now, whether that will change on the back of the 0-0 draw they had last time out against AC Milan, I don't know. Will Igor Tudor, the manager, have thought, hang on a minute, I've seen enough here in terms of mistakes at the back? So this game will be interesting, I think, from that point of view. Do we see a change in Juventus' approach? But so far, they've been brilliant going forward and they've looked really ropey at the back. So I think both teams to score here, yes, at minus 118 is worth a look.
Who of the Betting Weekly crew will be the most likely not to play by the rules, Steve? That's what I'm...
Well, I wasn't going to mention any names.
It's just infiltrating my brain, that. Who are we saying? Simon Holden? Simon?
Yeah, I don't know what the book would be. I mean, we know that Jack Wright was naughty last year, wasn't he? With 1 hot dog.
Was he?
Did he go under 200?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Was he? Oh,
yeah. Well, he admitted it. To be fair, he did admit it. But
did he?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of bent the rules once with a hot dog. Well, I think I went.
All right. So you don't. You don't.
Yeah, but I've learned my lesson. I have to play it fair. It would feel morally wrong. I could easily have said, Como plus 200, that's the bet. But
there you go. I'll tell you what, Steve, it's bound to win now, because I had one earlier in the season on Elan Cabal to have a shot on target at plus 195. So I didn't do it, and he smashed one in the top corner. So this one is bound to win now that you've not done it.
There you go. One final lean in Italy. Steve, Milan against Fiorentina. Fiorentina having a bit of a shocker this season. Don't know what the situation is with Moise Kean for this one, because he missed the last Italian game, didn't he? Missed that Israel game, I think, with an ankle injury. And he just found a bit of form. He was brilliant last year. Don't know what the situation is with him. Don't know if that plays into your thoughts with this one. Also, what do you got for us? 2:45 Sunday for this one.
I think it is a factor for the game, and from what I understand, he's going to be on the bench at absolute best for the fixture. More than likely ruled out. They don't want to take any risks with him. The bet that I like is under 2.5 goals, and this is, I think, at minus 114. I'll check the latest price before I mention the pick. But I mean, this is kind of an interesting game because Fiorentina are winless. It's not worked out for Stefano Pioli here so far, but they are unbeaten away from home. He goes back to his former club. He's going to get a good reception. They won the title here just a few years ago. But the big problem for Fiorentina, and the fans are moaning about it, is their lack of firepower. They're not offering enough going forward. And I think he's going to come here, possibly part the bus, and play for the draw. I actually looked at Fiorentina draw double chance as a possible hot dog because I think AC Milan could be vulnerable. Again, it's after the international break, and no team in Serie A is affected more by internationals than AC Milan. 17 players in total have been away, and there's a few injuries across the board as well. I think they'll be a bit disjointed here, AC Milan. I don't think we're going to see the best version of them. After the last international break, they only beat Bologna 1-0, and that could be the sort of scoreline that we're looking at again. So I think under 2.5 goals makes a lot of sense with the way that we're going to get one team that isn't going to want to play here in terms of style. So we're looking at a tightish sort of game. It wouldn't surprise me if Fiorentina got something at all. I mean, like I said, their away record is quite good. 2-0 away from home. so far, and the 0-0 maybe he's on the agenda here. Head-to-head won't point towards that, but there's a different manager this season for Fiorentina. So for me, that under makes quite a lot of sense. And Moise Kean, like I said, that was kind of the real tipping point for the lean. But I am quite strongly on this game. Minus 109 now for under 2.5 goals. I don't see this being a classic.
One Liga lean from James, where you think the prices maybe aren't quite right. This is in the Lorient Brest game, which is 11:15 Sunday, James.
Yeah, well, I did earlier in the week, and the prices have moved here quite considerably. So I think the market has realised they maybe got it wrong. Lorient were really clear favourites at the start of the week. They were plus 130. They're now up to plus 155. Brest were massive outsiders. I think they were plus 185 earlier in the week. They're now into plus 165. So big changes in the prices, but Lorient are still the favourites, and I do think that is wrong. So the lean is on Brest here. It's Brest Tino Bet, which is available at minus 112. And the reason I think it's wrong is that if you look at Lorient's results, they've won 2 games this season, but both times they were playing against 10 or 9 men, actually. So I think their form, if you just look at where they are in the league table and the fact they won 2 matches, is completely misleading. They beat Rennes earlier in the season, but Rennes had 2 players sent off in the first 15 minutes, made it a lot easier for Lorient. And then they beat Monaco, which was a level game until Monaco went down to 10 men. So actually Lorient's form when they've played against 11 players is really poor this season. And I think that's really how you should look at them going into the game. Brest have improved. They started the season really slowly, but they've been very good in the last 3 matches. So shame the prices have moved, but I still think there's enough value in Brest to back them here. So it's just a lean from me, but Brest Tino Bet would be the way to play it.
And a lean in La Liga, Levante against Rayo. And as soon as we mention Rayo, we have to mention corners, Mr. Wyss.
Yeah, should we have some fun here? Because everyone knows what the bet is. Rayo and corners go hand in hand. The match corner line doesn't interest me, though, because Levante have a really low average number of corners this season. I think it's it's actually 2.13 per game for Levante. But they do concede an average of 8 corners in each contest. So it makes sense to back the Rayo Vallecano team total corner line over 5.5 at minus 105. I could have easily had this as an official play if I wanted. And, why not bring the ladder out a bit as well? Over 6.5 corners at plus 170, over 7.5 at plus 275. I mean, you can bet your bottom dollar, can't you? After the last that last match where I got done with the corners, needing just one more in the last 20 minutes, that this will probably be a crazy match for corners. But the way they play, Rayo average nearly 7 corners a game. I think only Barcelona and Real Sociedad average more corners in La Liga than them. Flagged them up constantly on this show, on the live show before. Nothing's going to change with their system. They don't score enough goals. That's one of the reasons that they rack up the corners. They if they actually got ahead in the game early, then we might be in more trouble. But they don't. They take a lot of shots and just don't convert their opportunities enough. And I see them dominating the corner count here unless we get red cards or freak scoreline sort of early on.
Corners, which is a go-to for Rayo games, over 5.5 team total minus 105. That game 12:30 Sunday, which is Levante against Rayo Vallecano. Bundesliga, we're going to get to De Clasico in just a second, but we have got a lean on one of the Saturday games with Steve. It's 9:30. It's Leipzig against Hamburg. It's weird with Leipzig for me because they were hammered on match day 1, first game of the season by Bayern. You think, well, that's them done. But they've been sneaky good since then. They're an interesting team maybe to side with. But you're going for a market that's lesser spotted on the show here, Steve. You don't get too many of these. But I worked out the stats, and it's a profitable play in the Bundesliga, which is very counterintuitive. Tell us the bet.
Yeah, first time that we have really mentioned either of these teams on the show this season. RB Leipzig against Hamburg. And the bet that I'm flagging up here is both teams score no at plus 132. And that looks a big price because Hamburg haven't scored a goal away from home yet this season. So this is effectively, I mean, I do like Leipzig win to 0. But you also get the 0-0 onside, and that's not out of the question. Hamburg have had 2 0-0 draws this season. They definitely feel like an under team to me in general. If you look at the 2 matches that have gone over 2.5 for them, Bayern Munich away 5-0. Just almost need to forget about that one, don't you? And then they beat Mainz 4-0 just prior to the international break. And I'm kicking myself I wasn't on them, actually, because Mainz were away from home in Europe on Thursday night. So I'm not actually going to give that 4-0 too much relevance here. I don't think they're going to get many chances against this RB Leipzig side. The actual defensive metrics, if you take away the matches that both sides got battered by Bayern, these 2 sides have tremendous expected goals against. It would be in the top 5 for expected goals against for both if you ignore the Bayern game. So I think we can get the most likely outcome is probably like 2-0 to RB Leipzig or 1-0. The goal line is 3.5, and I that's the other angle I was looking at, under 3.5 goals. But I could see Leipzig winning, say, 4 or 5-0 if everything clicks for them. So I would rather take the both teams score no. It's pretty much a fade of Hamburg just not scoring in the game. It's a big price, I think, that.
Yeah, I think it's a really smart play. Leipzig are an interesting team. They're better than people think, but they don't score loads. As you say, they can let loose every now and then. Plus 5 points. If you've level staked, all the both teams to score no so far in the Bundesliga this season. 54 games, you've won 25 times. We haven't got any leans in the Classic, but we'll get the boys' thoughts. I say we haven't got any leans. I'm sure that Steve and James will give us a thought or two on it. Bayern a minus 2,500 for the title, James. Dortmund a plus 1,600. I mean, we can't say it's a title decider because according to the odds, the title has been decided. Bayern a minus 315 to win this game. Dortmund a plus 650. Both games last season were draws. I mean, is there any sort of value? What's your sort of general thoughts on this one? I mean, Bayern have started really well, but Dortmund have been better than okay. I think they've surprised a few.
Yeah, they have. They've been okay, but I think if I was going to have a play on the game, I would look at taking Bayern on the handicap, whatever the line is around evens, because they've been that dominant so far. It's not just that they've won 6 out of 6, it's how much they've been winning them by. An average goal difference of almost 4 goals a game. It's crazy, really. I think Bayern Munich should win the Bundesliga this season by a bigger margin than PSG should win Ligue 1, actually. I mean, there's a lot of talk about Ligue 1 being a weak league and the Farmers League, and you get that type of joke, but I actually think Bayern Munich should have first of all, a bigger points total themselves than PSG managed this season, and probably a bigger points gap to second place. So I think the interesting thing about Bayern, if you can't find a way to, obviously you can't back them really in the title race now, but what will that mean for them in the Champions League? I think a lot of people felt PSG having fairly easy games in Ligue 1 was a factor in them being able to focus on the Champions League through the spring. I think we might see a similar situation this season with Bayern Munich and the Bundesliga, and I think, you could argue at plus 900, something like that in the Champions League, 4th or 5th favourites, depending where you look. I think you can make a case that Bayern are underrated in that competition. So, I'm not going to say they'll have the league wrapped up by Christmas, but we know they're very, very, very likely to win it. Their thoughts can probably turn towards the Champions League a little bit earlier than some of the other sides gunning for that competition this season.
Yeah, it's a different way to try and get a bigger price about Bayern to win something. Steve, your thoughts on this one? The Asian line, incidentally, is minus 1.75 even money for Bayern. So a win by 2 or more goals and you've got a profit, 3 or more, and you get full cash on that. It is even money. I mean, generally it's an overs game, Steve. 10 of the last 12 over 2.5 and over 3.5, and both seem to score. Yes. What are your thoughts on Die Klassiker, 5:30 UK? It's 12:30 Eastern on Saturday.
Yeah, I would have a bet on this game, or at least a strong lean, but I don't like it this year at this point in time. You're absolutely right. Normally the go-to play would be just go for the over 3.5 goal line. But it comes on the back of an international break. And, both of these two sides are affected the most from the players in this league. So there might be a bit of disjointed performances-wise. And last season, Dortmund quite well against Bayern, and I think the Dortmund players raised their level for this fixture. I mentioned this in the derby in Madrid a few weeks ago. Atletico raised the level for Real Madrid, and Dortmund raised it for Bayern. And honestly, like you two guys here, do we still really trust? Do we yet trust Vincent Kompany in really, really big games? I'm not sure. I think he's got better
I think it's a really interesting call. I mean, they've won their first 10. First time they've done that since they were promoted to the Bundesliga. They didn't play in the first 2 seasons of the Bundesliga in the 60s. And it does appear like they're steamrolling every single side. But as you say, Kompany, I'm not 100% convinced at all by him. But as James has pointed out, you look at those Asian line totals, and you just think they do win games by 2, 3, and 4 all the time. You know, what more can we ask for as a better here?
That's the thing. In the Bundesliga, they're by far the best team. But one of the main reasons for that is that they obliterate most of the opponents. Most of the teams in this league are already beaten before they head into the match. But Dortmund are probably the one side who aren't. So it's a different sort of contest. So I'm really... It is one of those, I cannot even suggest a lean. I don't know which way it goes. History suggests over. I've got a funny feeling for under, a funny feeling, but that's just on gut. How I think that the Dortmund manager's going to approach it. They've got a good manager. I think they'll come here with a game plan. They've had better defensive numbers than you think this season. I mean, everyone looks at that ridiculous match at Juventus in the Champions League, but take that out, and they've kept quite a lot of clean sheets, Borussia Dortmund. Bayern themselves, James is right. They should win by such a big margin. I mean, how many Bundesligas have they won? Is it 12 of the last 13 or something ridiculous like that? This is a very uncompetitive league normally. It makes me laugh when officials from them were moaning about Nick Woltemade, weren't they? Newcastle paying so much money for him. That's just simply sour grapes. They can't say anything about Saudi money and stuff when they're dominating the league for 12 of the last 13 years. And they always nick players domestically. So it makes me laugh. But I would like to see them get beat in the title again. I'm not going to lie. And I would like to see Dortmund win this game. Whether they will or not, I don't know. It's a tough contest. And I think the best advice I can give is probably to stay away from it and maybe watch out for some in-play action. It's a good one to watch.
Yeah, should be. Girassi, I think, is a doubt as well, isn't he? Got a thigh problem, so I don't know whether he's going to play. And that might influence the way that Niko Kovac approaches the game. Unbeaten in 3, Dortmund against Bayern. I mean, I always try and look against the favourite, but you look at the numbers for Bayern and you think, they could win it easy. Interesting one. Let us know who you're betting for Die Klassiker. We're sort of a little bit standoffish for this one. It'd be always a good watch, though. Monday night football to finish up with. Cremonese against Udinese. This is 2:45 on Monday. James has got some thoughts on this one. Udinese are the favourites. Cremonese only lost once on Make It, but their expected goals against is the second highest, 10.3. Sounds like they've looked out a little bit. But Udinese, I think over the last few years, have done us dirty on a lot of occasions here. James, what's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think Cremonese will be really pleased to have lost only once. They've not played badly, but they have had a couple of games where they probably got away with one. But a decent points total. I think they got 9 on the board after 6 matches. They're sitting in mid-table. It's probably where they would have taken coming into the season as a newly promoted side. So fairly interesting now, I think, to see where their points totals go over the next 6 matches. Will we maybe see them reflecting how they're playing more than maybe getting the look they've had so far? Udinese played 6, they've won 2, drawn 2, lost 2. They're just a point behind Cremonese. So I had a long look at this game. It's very difficult to take a strong view on the outcome on this Monday night match. I think the tie at plus 220 would be the way to play it. It would just be a lean from me, but it's the outsider of 3. Cremonese are plus 200 to win it. Udinese are plus 138. Looks to me like the sort of game where Cremonese are not playing well enough to win it, but Udinese are not really playing well enough to win it either. So interesting match. As I say, keep an eye on Cremonese. I have a funny feeling their points total might start to slip a bit in terms of points per game, but Monday night I can see them getting a draw here.
James loves a tie, doesn't he? Do you know what I mean? He loves a draw. I love that. No one else in the world tips up a tie, a draw, but James has got it right more often than not.
Always the value.
And lastly, I tell you why not. Look, I think it's one of those weird ones on Monday we'll have a full preview, of course, on the Monday live show for that one. But Udinese favourites. The draw is just a bit of a lean for the Monday night game from James, 2:45. Cremonese, Udinese. That is your lot. Steve, James, thanks for your company as ever. Good luck to one and all. We will keep everyone updated via our X feeds. Hopefully we'll be in profit next week. Minus 0.01. Crying out loud. Who does these figures? That is a wrap for Betting Weekly Extra Time European Edition. Follow us at Because We Win. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Get your comments in the chat as well. We're going to be back next week. Lots of content, of course, on the channel. Plenty coming your way from all of us. For now, though, have a good betting weekend. We'll speak soon.